Hi parents! Before we start the episode, remember that your family can enjoy hundreds of fun and educational free videos for kids of all ages. Be sure to subscribe and get all the new shows and updates at pragerukids.com. Welcome to Craftery by PragerU Kids. Crafts, history, and your questions. I'm Jill, and today we have got a sweet craft to learn about an ancient landmark that millions of people travel to from around the world every year, Israel's Western Wall. Oh, we've got a question.
What's so great about a wall in Israel?
I'm glad you asked. I didn't know how special Israel's Western Wall was until a friend told me about it. It was built over 2,000 years ago, but is still one of the most meaningful places on Earth today. The Western Wall is a symbol for religious freedom, and many people of Judeo-Christian faith consider it to be God's mailbox. Now, before I tell you more, let's get our supplies ready. Here's what you'll need. Sugar cubes! I like to use the brown ones for this project. You'll need a few boxes worth. We have about 150 total cubes here. Glue. I like using the clear school glue. A piece of cardboard or poster board, fake moss from a craft store or online, and little bits of paper and something to write with. So before we start building our miniature Western Wall, let's learn a bit about the real one in Israel. It stands in the old city of Jerusalem, is made of stone, and was built more than 2,000 years ago. The Western Wall is the most religious site in the world for Jews and is considered a holy place for many people of faith. The Western Wall is the last wall standing from the ancient Jewish temple, now known as the Temple Mount or Kotel, which is Hebrew for wall. This was where the first and second temples of Jerusalem were built during biblical times, before Christ. The ancient Jewish temple was known as God's house, but it was knocked down twice by people who did not believe in the God of the Bible. The temple was destroyed, but one of its walls stayed standing. And this is the Western Wall. It is now the closest spot that Jews can visit to be near the Holy of Holies. It's a very sacred place to pray and feel close to God. Now, let's get our foundation started to line up our stones on the ground we're gonna have here, and I'll tell you more later. I like to use raw sugar cubes for this because they kind of look brownish like stone, but if you only have white sugar cubes, that's okay. You can use whatever you want and you can always paint it afterwards to take it to the next level. Now, get your cardboard. As you can see, I started gluing a little bit of the stones here just to give you an idea about how we're gonna do this. I suggest we start with an L shape, just like this, to make it seem like the real building so that we can keep our structure here steady. We're gonna line up all of our cubes very, very closely, one by one, and for our mortar, clear glue. I suggest applying a few bricks at a time. Kind of makes it easier. 1, 2, this takes patience. Very closely, just like the real wall. All the way across. This might take a while, but stick with it. There we go. Little dabs will do ya. Isn't that the phrase? 15. Should we do a little bit more? Let's do a little bit more. looking good. All right, let's build up. Now, some of these cubes are taller than they are wide. So, you want to make sure that when you stack them, it's even across the top. Have you ever looked closely at a brick wall in real life? The bricks aren't usually stacked right on top of each other, but are rather staggered. This is what makes a wall stronger. It's called a running bond brick pattern, and that's what we're doing here. All right, looking pretty good. You know, the actual wall in Israel is about 160 feet long and 60 feet high, with the stones stacked right on top of each other, just like we're doing here. They put the big stones on the bottom and the smaller ones near the top. The smallest stones weigh 2 to 5 tons, and the biggest stone weighs about 570 tons. That's super heavy. Good thing ours aren't that heavy. We got sugar. Okay, now I left a little gap here, which you probably wondered why I did that. Well, let's see if you can figure it out. How about we see a picture of the real Western Wall? What do you see? Plants! There are plants growing out of the Western Wall in all different gaps. This is where our moss comes in. Let's add our plants to our Western Wall. Take a little sprig, kind of bunch it up. Doesn't have to be perfect. And right in there. Let's just nestle it in. Realistic? Okay, let's keep building our wall. Going to add a little bit more moss. Makes it pretty. Right. This is tedious, but worth it. Hey, do you want a snack? I have an idea. It is sugar. I'm actually doing this for a good reason, which will be our surprise for our final touch when we're done with our project. Now, I give you permission to take a tiny bite out of one of your sugar cubes too, with your parents' permission, of course, because we're gonna add this half cube to our wall to create a little gap with it. And then take the next cube and create that little space. You'll see why at the very end. Continue now with the rest of the wall. And don't forget to add moss in between. One last one. We did it! Woo! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stones high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and a little bit more stones lengthwise. This is our Western Wall. Good work, everyone. I told you this would take a lot of patience. Now, let's see how accurate we are with our mini version here. Oh, yes, we have our plants growing in the wall as we did along the way. What else do you see in the cracks of the real Western Wall in Israel? Take a close look there. Right there. Yes, papers! Papers! Remember when we started, I told you that the Western Wall is considered God's mailbox? Well, those papers you see stuck in the cracks are prayers that visitors left there to talk to God. There are over 1 million prayers placed in the Western Wall's cracks every year. And twice a year, those papers are taken out and buried in the Mount of Olives Cemetery in Jerusalem to make room for more prayers. Now, should we leave a prayer in our Western Wall here? You betcha. Get your paper and something to write with. It can be anything. Fold it up. Very, very tiny. Into our Western Wall. Sweet! Israel's Western Wall is a symbol of religious freedom and hope after destruction. It is a sacred place for Jews and everyone around the world to visit and feel close to God. We hope you had fun, and we hope you learned something new, too. If you've got ideas or questions for our next craftery, send them our way. Keep crafting, keep learning, and keep celebrating Land of the Free and Home of the Brave. Bye, everybody. Thank you for watching. You know we've got more episodes, right? Watch the whole series on our website. And parents, you can subscribe at PragerUkids.com.